Defense ranked number 5 in the country in Division I GA in scoring.
And early on, anxious to see how Baylor handles the physicality, because that's what TCU does about as well as anybody. They are terrific at the point of attack. They don't give a lot of airspace, and they try to make you feel uncomfortable in the half court.
Yesufu has his pocket picked. Xavier Edmonds, who stepped into a bigger role over the first couple of months of the season with the early theft. Our officials, Kip Kissinger, Brooks Wells, and Brett Smith, as we are off and running here at Schollmeyer Arena. Underneath, Edmonds is doubled up, and the official's going to get an early whistle. So what a coaching matchup. Scott Drew, national championship winning head coach, just probably still doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. You consider what he inherited when he took over this program right around 2003, taking them to the college basketball mountaintop, and now a perennial contender GA in the Big 12.
Yeah, the ultimate optimist is Scott Drew. You never see him without a smile on his face and without something positive to say about his team.
So already both teams getting into it with their defense. We'll get a whistle here on the perimeter. There's Jamie Dixon coaching at his alma mater now at the age of 60. Just got his 500th win last year. All he does is win. 24th season as a Division I head coach. Has led the Horned Frogs 5 NCAA tournaments, 4 as a head coach, 1 as a player all the way back in 1987. And it was fun catching up with both of these two coaches earlier this morning. The basketball journey has been for both men. And they know the importance of this rivalry as both of these schools, GA, begin their Big 12 conference schedule. Tough fadeaway corner 3, won't go from Carr. That's the kind of shot you want to force him to take.
Well, did you see the way they took away the airspace there? But great job on the defensive transition by Baylor getting back, but TCU wins the loose ball battle.
Harding, little shovel pass to punch, spins. Won't get a better look than that as we are still looking for our first points.
And they'll be in a period of adjustment because, look, both these teams have not been dealing with a lot of competition here down the stretch the last few games. So they're both going to have to make the adjustment to going against some high-level competition.
Frenetic pace. Robinson misses wildly from deep. Jamie Dixon threw his arms up just as that ball left his hands. I'm sure he was crazy about that shot.
I mean, if you think about it, Robinson's a 36% shooter from 3. So if you get an open, uncontested look in rhythm with your Jamie Dixon, I don't know if you're unhappy with it. Maybe it was at the point of the shot clock that had a concern for him.
Obi Agbum is back in the lineup for Scott Drew. Was out their last game with illness, but they're happy to have him back, one of their ball handlers. There's Yesufu, corner 3 won't go, and both teams still looking for their first baskets.
Let's keep an eye, Spiro, on the defensive backcourt for TCU. Can they control it being undersized against Baylor?
Little leaner from Ratai won't go. Second chance at it. So Baylor has missed their first 5 shots. And we are still scoreless 2.5 minutes into this game. But gee, you got to think this is the kind of pace that Jamie Dixon was hoping for.
Yeah, they've lost 3 games this year by a combined 10 points. So they're not unaccustomed to competing and playing in a slugfest. And you see Hardy able to knock down that triple. We talked about Brock Hardy. He's not going to take a ton of shots, only averaging 9 points a game, but 6 assists and a bulldog defensively.
Harding already has more points than he had in their last game. Their Monday win over Jackson State went scoreless in 18 minutes in that game. A little bit of contact underneath. Skillings Jr. Beautiful body control, stopping on a dime to get the Bears their first points. Then it's Yesufu with a steal. All the athleticism, GA to the cup, can't finish.
And Yesufu wanted a foul on that attack there. Harding got him across the arm, but the official not in position to see it.
Mentioned TCU's start. What a wild roller coaster of a regular season it's been for them already. Mentioned their 3 losses by a combined 10 points as Lilovicius bangs in a corner 3.
And Scott Drew's come out here to start playing the zone. We know that he'll mix it up defensively, but TCU, not known as a great three-point shooting team, but they've created some good looks here and able to knock down a couple early.
TCU, Greg, probably gave Michigan their toughest game so far this season. The Wolverines still undefeated, but they beat the Horned Frogs by only 4 points that game in early November. TCU has knocked off the defending champion Florida Gators already. They've beaten Wisconsin. Nice little interior basket that time by Skillings Jr.
And it just speaks to the depth of the Big 12, right? These were two teams that were picked to finish almost in the bottom third of the league. But as you can see here, they've gotten off to a terrific start this season.
Micah Robinson, career highs in points Monday, 19 points. Was terrific in their victory over Jackson State. Sophomore out of Kansas City. And suddenly both teams now starting to catch a little bit of fire. Cameron Carr complaining about a non-foul. As the Baylor Bears trying to get their offense recalibrated. Robinson the steal. Trying to save, runs out of real estate. Baylor's going to get it back.
And you talked about, you saw Carr complaining. That's exactly, if you're TCU, what you want. As they have gotten off to a terrific shot from the three-point line. Robinson off the attack from Harding, able to get it in the corner for the triple. 5-point lead here early for TCU.
Lauren Jabbar.
Hello, Spiro. Excited to be with you guys for Baylor freshman Tunde Yesufu. He grew up in the West African country of Benin, played soccer as a kid, didn't actually pick up basketball until he moved to the United States right before high school, but he stayed rooted in where he's come from. Guys, he regularly sends shoes and shirts back home, and this summer he actually opened a basketball court in his mother's home village. She's the one who runs it to this day. He told me it's a blessing to be in this opportunity. Growing up, he didn't have these opportunities, and kids back home, they want to play basketball, they want to go to school, they just need someone to pour into them. He said, I wasn't that kid, so it's a blessing to be able to give back to my community. So every time he steps on the floor, guys, he told me it's not just for the team, it's also representing his home country as well.
Yeah, Lauren, that's one of the happy stories with some of that NIL money, some of these young student athletes having a chance to do something for their family, their hometowns that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do, unless they one day are lucky enough to get to the NBA. It's a wonderful story, and just amazing to see how good he's become so quickly. Fifth among true freshmen in the country in scoring is Yesufu. As that little floater is good. Isaac Williams getting his hand in this game early, the sophomore out of Oklahoma City.
And that's two straight possessions where Williams was able to get all the way to the rim to break down that defense of TCU.
So early stages in this game, Baylor trying to adapt to this TCU defense. Layla vicious, boy, showing he can score at all three levels. Nice little floater from the elbow. And TCU gets the response. 5 for Layla Vicious.
And at that time, they were back to the man-to-man, and great recognition there defensively by TCU to get into their man-to-man offense.
Boy, Williams already wreaking havoc. Officials are going to say no basket. They're going to put him at the free throw line. Contact charge to Tanner Toolson. Gia, what are you seeing so far in this game? We mentioned that TCU took Michigan deep into that game, and they're employing some of their same defensive tactics so far against Baylor.
Yeah, easy call there in terms of the contact, and he'll get 2 free throws. And I think what you just talked about, it's pace. You know, TCU's not a team that plays slow, but defensively, they want to keep you out of transition. They want to make you play 5-on-5, and you can see that Baylor walking the ball up, right? That kind of plays into their hands. TCU, they want to have this game probably in the 60s, maybe the 70s, and I think that benefits them here, especially at home.
And remember, the Horned Frogs lost their starting center just 7 minutes into the season. Malik Diallo, in that season-opening loss to New Orleans, devastating knee injury, tore his ACL. Was such a big part of who they expected to be this season, and so they had to quickly hit the reset button. They lost that game to New Orleans in an upset. But boy, have they responded. 10-3 coming into this one. And we mentioned some of the big wins that they've already notched under their belt.
And give Jamie Dixon a lot of credit, because this group takes on his personality. They are tough. They're fighters. They play the game together about as well as anybody in the country. And most of their guys really play to their strengths. Great find there by Hardy. on that interior pass.
Tanner Toolson, the offensive rebound to get them another chance. And then underneath out of bounds here for the Horned Frogs as Ratai is going to check back into the game. Meantime, Scott Drew, the 55-year-old, 23rd season in Waco, Texas, at the helm of this Baylor program. See what they've done offensively. A lot of that, again, against lower-tier schools, and everyone trying to wait to see, is this Baylor team, GA, for real? Will they have a chance to compete? You mentioned where they were picked to finish in the preseason conference poll, but as we know, a lot of those preseason polls don't mean much.
Much harder to predict what you're going to get because of so many moving parts for these rosters. But I think both these teams have a terrific chance to be dancing come March.
Remember this Baylor team last year, 20 wins. They got as high as 8th in the country. Made the NCAA tournament before injuries just got the better of them. But a completely new roster put together by Scott Drew. Open look at a three. Toolson, no. And we're going to get a loose ball foul underneath against Baylor.
Yeah, and one thing about TCU, everyone thinks their teams compete, play hard. But TCU really does take it to another level. And take a look at this last possession defensively. They are so in sync. Watch Harden up top. When that double team goes, you see his rotation to the baseline to take away that baseline cut from the opposite side. And then they're able to control that defensive backboard. Those are the kinds of things that allow them to have such an impact against you defensively. They're connected. They understand their positions, their discipline. It is really fun watching them compete defensively.
This is Jace Posey, the sophomore out of Houston, who's garnered a lot of attention. That's an open three. Jaden Pierre. He's Jamie Dixon's top three-point shooter so far as he bangs it in from deep.
And keep in mind, TCU only makes about 8 threes a game, and already they've knocked down 4 here in the first 8 minutes.
Pierre, senior out of Elizabeth, New Jersey, a Providence transfer in his first year in the program. Got a blocking foul here on the baseline with Isaac Williams again able to draw contact, and everyone's going to catch their breath.
You talked about, Cheryl, their best three-point shooter, Pierre, off the loose ball. Posey able to get it out to him. Sometimes you just got to be in the right spot at the right time.
Highly anticipated debut of James Najee, signed by Scott Drew and Baylor on Christmas Eve with all the injuries that they had to contend with. He's a young man who was drafted 31st overall by the Detroit Pistons in the 23 NBA draft. He never actually played in either a preseason or a regular season game, 2 summer league appearances. It has garnered some interesting reactions from some of the high-profile coaches, GA, around the country. None of that matters right now as Najee straps it on and makes his Baylor debut here in Fort Worth.
Yeah, and I was a bit surprised, and most folks might not realize this, but the great Larry Bird was drafted and went back to school. It didn't come out initially after he was drafted, and so many of the international players that come over and play collegiate basketball, in essence, are professionals before they come over. And so this is a young man that had not played any basketball professionally in the NBA, had not signed a contract, so it kind of fits in line with what they are trying to do here collegiately. I'll tell you what, how about the boost that Baylor has gotten from Isaac Williams here? His ability to consistently break down TCU's half-court defense and get into the paint has really been a godsend early on for Scott Drew.
Yeah, Scott Drew talking about Williams says he can really get into the paint. He's an elite finisher, and we've already seen some of that early in this game as we check in with Lauren.
Spiro, what a 10 days it's been for James Najee. The Baylor officially announced his addition on December 24th. He joined the team on December 28th as the Big 12 play approached, and Scott Drew told us that he hasn't played 5-on-5 in about 7 months. So the focus early is conditioning, getting him comfortable with Baylor's offensive and defensive systems. But the teammates, they've really embraced him. Cameron Carr said our arms are open for him. This is going to be home. And Scott Drew also shared with us how meaningful this moment has been for Najee's family. He said they're an academic, faith-driven household. His siblings are in engineering and graduate programs. His mother, an active lay minister at their church, and James played piano in the church growing up. So it makes the opportunity to not only play college basketball, but to attend a university especially special for the Najee family.
Yeah, Lauren, it was pretty neat to hear Scott's story. He said that the reaction from his mom, knowing that he was finally getting a chance to attend university and play collegiately to fulfill his dream, was something that was really cool to see. And you look at him as we get contact underneath here against the Horned Frogs. You look at him, GA, and he's an athletic specimen. Consider the injuries that they've had to deal with their front court. And if they can get him up to speed quickly, especially now with the conference portion of their schedule beginning, that will be a massive thing for Scott Drew.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you a baseball analogy. The young fella is more like a middle reliever. You want him to eat up some minutes. Like, they don't have a lot of depth. They typically only play 7. So if he can get to a point where he's playing 16, 18 minutes a night, that is going to be a huge get for Baylor. And while he was drafted, he was still a project. He's not a guy that you're going to have plug and play where you just throw him out there and he's ready to go. It's going to take him some time to get up to speed. They get comfortable with the style, the terminology that they utilize here. But it'll be some time for him to get there, Spiro. But I think ultimately, once he's comfortable, he could be a difference maker.
Would you say, GA, it's harder to make the transition as a big man or a guard?
I honestly feel guard. And I say that because you're going to have to touch the ball more and you're going to have to play all over the floor more. He can kind of focus on running the floor, protecting the rim, screening, which, again, still going to be a challenge for him. And then in the conditioning, you talked about it, he hasn't played, and you can see there, he gets away from the foul. But he hasn't played any organized basketball. He hasn't had adrenaline flowing through his system in a long time. So his timing is going to be off, no question.
And Scott Drew, all the complex defenses that they run, all the different press defenses that they employ. Young man trying to get himself up to speed as quickly as possible as Pierre lets it rip and misses well short on that deep shot.
We were talking about the non-call that Najee got away. Watch this. They're calling this in every sport. There's no sport that you can play that they're going to allow you to grab like that, but he got away with it. And I do like the fact that he's given the effort, which is something Scott Drew really loved about the young man. Once they got him on campus.
I'm told the Baylor's defensive coordinator has already placed a phone call to recruit him as a defensive back next season. This is Cameron Carr. That's a 3. So it's taken a little bit for Carr to heat up. Again, 13th in the country in scoring as he enters the day at better than 21 a night.
Yeah, he's a terrific player. A lot of it is just getting comfortable, as you see there on a beautiful attack to get that juice there from Hardy. It's taken him a little time to make the adjustment in this game. We talked about it. The level of competition is a little different than what he's seen the last few weeks, and the level of physicality that TCU is going to play with. So he's starting to make that adjustment, and he's going to have to if Baylor wants to get the win.
So we mentioned the fact that the Bears, 5th highest scoring team in the country at nearly 96 per game. But so far, they're just 5 of 13 from the field and have worked really hard to get open shots. This is Ratai. Offensive rebound. Najee with his first basket as a Bear.
And that was a heck of a job on the drive to force 2 to the ball that creates that offensive rebound opportunity, and that'll give that young man a lot of confidence to have a play like that.
And I'm just impressed by this TCU crowd. Obviously a very well-read crowd. They know the story with Najee. And GA, I don't think they agree with the fact that he has joined his Baylor team, as they have let him hear it every time he's touched it. And the basketball here is going to belong to Baylor as they are awarded a timeout.
And Najee making his presence felt here early on. He was in that dunker spot, doesn't get it, but he attacks the offensive glass there for the finish. Mr. Najee, welcome to the Big 12. And that's the one concern Jamie Dixon talked about. Can we control our defensive backboard with how we want to defend and extend your offense? Not the case on that possession, and you can see the impact Najee is having already.
Scott Drew said he's come in with the perfect temperament, humble kid, asking all the right questions, just trying to ingratiate himself with his new teammates in the locker room. And what a whirlwind it has been. Again, signed, added to the roster on Christmas Eve, December the 24th. And here he is making his debut on January the 3rd. Just over a week later here in Fort Worth. Yesufu knocks in a three.
And Yesufu continues to impress with the three-point shooting. But again, that possession is really set up by the attack there from Isaac Williams. He has consistently broken down TCU's defense.
Well, can David Punch get himself going? He's been quiet so far. As Punch still looking for his first field goal. He's missed his first two. And TCU's lead down to a point. Ball knocked around, and it's a Baylor turnover.
And that's an example of the timing. Great idea by Najee to try to make that pass, but the timing's off. But here, defensively, big fella moves his feet, gets dislodged a little bit, but doesn't give up on the play, gets a contest up, forces that miss. And so, again, those are the kinds of plays that he's going to be able to give this Baylor team. They lack size, and then they lack depth. And so, again, if he can give them extended minutes, boy, it just changes the entire complexion of their roster.
We asked Scott Drew how many minutes. He said, look, it could be 5, it could be 7, it could be 16. We'll just have to wait and see how he feels, as this one is knocked out of bounds by Baylor. And it doesn't look like he's sucking wind, GA. So from a conditioning standpoint, at least so far, so good.
He's sucking a little bit of wind. He's sucking a little bit of wind, but he's having a positive impact. And more importantly, you look at that plus minus, he's had an impact on the game. Since he's been in, Baylor's been able to cut into that lead and really have much more impact in the paint.
For a beautiful setup by Harding, but Edmonds unable to put it down.
That's another contest by Najee again that alters that shot.
So TCU's shooting percentage has now dipped to below 37%. And their lead down to a point. Horned Frogs have led by as many as 8. There's a spin by Skillings. Yesufu on the perimeter. Sealed off baseline. Elevates and hits. Biggest lead, first lead, I beg your pardon, for Baylor.
Yesufu showing you that elite level talent that he has.
Explosive finish by Edmonds.
And we talked about it. TCU, very opportunistic. You don't think that they're a team that plays fast, but they like to get the ball up the court quickly. And if your defense is compromised, they are looking to take advantage.
So that ends a 7-0 run for the Bears. Yesufu starting to ignite, not that time. And Jaden Pierre skies in for the rebound. So we come up on the 6-minute mark. TCU and Baylor. Big 12 conference opener for both of these two schools, separated by just 90 miles. Save underneath, taken by Yesufu, and he is bumped. Fishers are going to get Harding. That'll be his first.
You saw in that last possession, though, give TCU credit. They got the ball down the punch that forces the double. But here, nice job by Najee getting it to Yesufu, and then that nice baseline drive, able to knock down that midi. And then we talked about him on both ends. How about the contest out of rotation on the double team on the strong side, and able to force that turnover. Yesufu just really one of those special talents that just impacts the entire game.
Jace Posey back in for Jamie Dixon. And Najee sits for Scott Drew as Caden Powell has come into the game. A Waco, Texas product, local kid, and a senior for Scott Drew. So Najee sits 2+ minutes. I beg your pardon, 6+ minutes, 2 points. 1 of 1 from the field, a rebound and an assist. And it helps them the momentum for Baylor. This is Ogbin, top fade, missed it. Offensive rebound, Skillings. And his last touch, say the officials by TCU. Gee, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. It looked like he was about to touch it, but I couldn't quite tell if his hands actually extended.
This has to be a coach's challenge. The officials cannot go to the replay monitor.
Yeah, that was
for any out-of-bounds plays anymore.
There, but I think they're not going to challenge it. Just a bad break there for TCU.
And Greg, this is what we say. You only get one challenge if you don't get it successful. So when do you use it? Do you hold it? Especially in a game that Jamie Dixon thinks could be a tight game, and he's going to use his challenge right here.
And listen, basketball's a game supposed to be played with pace, but that's a pretty egregious one. And again, not to blame an official, because oftentimes what happens, turn the balls over, officials are going to miss calls. That's just the nature of the game.
So must have a timeout to challenge, which they obviously did. And boy, Harding, you can just see his playmaking ability. 4th in the Big 12 in assists per game. Top 30 in the country as he sets up Edmonds brilliantly.
And he really gets his confidence from the playmaking and what he does defensively. And boy, I tell you what, this TCU team really feeds off of that.
There's another takeaway. Pierre ignites the break. Posey, the leaper.
And we talked about it, Phil. They're opportunistic. When they get live ball turnovers, they're not looking to walk it up. They are in attack mode here and getting the crowd fired up.
6 straight for TCU. And they've built their lead back to 5.
And look at where Baylor's starting their offense. 30, 35 feet from the basket is where they're initiating, which tells you TCU is dictating how this game is being played.
And again, that interior defense. Micah Robinson got a hand at it, bothering Isaac Williams just enough. This is Pierre, mid-range J, tough shot, knocked around Posey. Out to Harding, who get him reset as we hit the 4-minute mark left in a half.
And Phil, you talked about the interior defense. It's more effective when you can extend the offense. Where now they need 2-3 dribbles, they're going to get a travel there on Posey to get to the paint, which allows you to recover and be in great help position.
For this Horned Frogs defense, elite. They've held Baylor to without a point in more than 3 minutes. 6 straight. They're up 5.
Can flat out fly. Now, this one didn't count, but we still got to give the young man some style points. Wow.
We know the young man can leap as we check in once again with Lauren.
Guys, he brings a rare versatility to TCU, a 2-sport athlete who didn't just play basketball growing up. He was also an elite high jumper, as you can see from some of those dunks. He cleared over 7 feet, won a Texas State title in track and field. He's also part of the track and field team at TCU, but that explosiveness shows up every single time he attacks the rim. And Jamie Dixon said his athleticism and competitiveness are hard to teach. He changes games even when he's not scoring, but it's better when he is scoring too. And guys, he's a fun player to watch.
Indeed. We know his pop is, of course, James Posey, 2-time NBA champion. He got one with the Celtics, but this young man, Jay, is just making a name for himself. Remember, he had 21 points in their win over Florida in a high-profile game like that. GA, only a sophomore, putting his imprint on this program quickly.
And the best part about it, basketball's a game of rhythm, and the way he scores is through rhythm, right? He's not dribbling 7 or 8 times. He's running the floor. He's active. He's getting deflection. He puts pressure on the rim, and guys love playing with guys who attack the game the way he does.
This is David Punch. He's going to reset. Now on the attack is Najee, who's checked back in for Scott Drew. So obviously Drew feeling like Najee is handling the weight of this moment well. Yesufu, meantime, is called for a palming violation. And that's another Baylor turnover.
Well, you talked about Najee there. As you see Scott Drew a little perplexed right now with his team's offense. But Najee affected that shot by Punch. And again, it's not always the block. It's the altering of a shot. It's the changing of the rhythm with which that offensive player plays, and that's been the case here early on.
Harding misses a little floater. So now the question, can the Bears, GA, get their offense recalibrated? They've missed 6 straight shots.
And keep in mind, folks, they lead the Big 12 in scoring. They got 19 points here with 2.5 minutes to go in the first half.
Here comes Carr, full head of steam, but again, every dribble contested, and they are still looking for their first points. No points now for Baylor in almost 4.5 minutes. Harding from deep. Offensive rebound. Posey sticks it back.
And that's what we just talked about with Posey, right? They're not running anything for him, but he embraces just attacking the basketball on both sides of the floor. Great effort there on the offensive glass.
8 straight for the Horned Frogs, and their lead is back to 7. Remember, they were up 8 early before Baylor came back to take the lead briefly. Inside of 2 minutes left in the half. This is Williams working against Pierre. Underneath, Yesufu, corner 3, tough angle, offensive rebound, Skillings. Got all that length back up, missed it. Here comes Pierre, punch, couldn't squeeze it. Look at Posey, but then he's turned back. Isaac Williams with a recovery.
And that's something that you're going to have to do if you're TCU. When you extend your defense the way they do, your guards have got to come back and rebound. And when you do it, you're going to have opportunities in transition here. Great job of staying with it by Posey, but Williams coming up, the guard coming up with a big-time block there to deny the layup.
So you look at what TCU's doing, GA. They're doing it with David Punch, their leading scorer, scoreless till this point. What makes what they've done so far in this game even more impressive. Harding missed it. This is Punch, and he's got it stripped.
Early on, they have really taken away Punch's rhythm, his confidence, not playing with force here in this game.
So that's going to end an 8-0 run. Much needed basket. First points for Baylor in 6 minutes. As Cameron Carr gets his second field goal. This is Robinson working against Williams. Officials are going to get Williams underneath.
And one of the few times we've seen Cam Carr be able to get all the way to the rim without a second defender getting there before the shot. So great recognition by the young man. They need to get him going offensively as well.
Timeout's going to be taken here by Jamie Dixon.
That his sister is actually better than both of them. When she was in high school, he said he called her a 5-star while laughing and said there's no chance that he could top any of her dunks. I said we would love to see a Carr family dunk off. He said we'll see if we can make that happen.
He is quite the specimen, Lauren. He's got a 7'2" wingspan and a standing reach of 8 feet 10 inches. You just look at his frame. It's just amazing when you think of what the potential is for Carr. First year in the program. Remember last 2 years at Tennessee. Never quite cracked that rotation, but certainly developed. And as Scott True said, we are bearing the fruits of what they built with him over the last 2 years. Layla Vitches with another three-point jack.
And then just another great job on the attack by TCU. Great spacing. 10 assists now on 11 made field goals for TCU.
So the Horned Frogs match their largest lead of the half. Horned Frogs have a foul to give. Agben underneath. Hard flush.
And keep an eye on the way they just scored there, because that was Carr moving without the basketball. That's something they're going to have to do a little better job in the second half.
But
half averaging just under 19 on the season. I said, how did you like James Najee that first half? He smiled at me and said, really great first half. Looking forward to the second.
Yeah, it was everyone's guess, Lauren, how Najee would handle conditioning, the whirlwind it's been for him the last week and a half since he was added to this roster on Christmas Eve, but so far so good. TCU, there's a little fadeaway turn by Xavier Edmonds, and the Long Beach, California native is going to get himself to the free throw line.
And that was a good job there of allowing the official to see the contact. And TCU just really solid with how they execute. They're not a team that's going to score 100 a night, but boy, they do a great job of creating mismatches and good looks at the basket.
First attempted free throws of the day for TCU. Unrivaled tips off season 2 with a full slate of opening day matchups featuring returning stars and new faces ready to shine. Catch the action this Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max. Great to have you with us. Schollmeyer Arena, Fort Worth, Texas, for TCU and Baylor. Call this the rivalry the Blue Bonnet Battle, named for the State Flower, which lines the I-35 corridor between these two schools, separated by about 90 miles. See the halftime adjustments, GA, for both of these two coaches. Can Jamie Dixon get his leading scorer, David Punch, going? Meantime, it's Edmonds getting in the weight room.
And I'll tell you one thing, Punch got the deflection on the defensive end, strong on that attack. And again, he doesn't score, but he creates the offensive rebound opportunity there for Edmonds, who goes up strong to corral that rebound. And TCU really starting to impose their will here defensively.
So just like that, the Horned Frogs have their largest lead of the day. They had that early 8-point lead. And you just consider Baylor, their last game, GA, against Arlington Baptist, they had 69 points in that game at halftime. You mentioned it, you know, some of those cupcake games that you play in the non-conference, especially in the Big 12, you just wonder if they're ready state for a game like this.
Now TCU, they don't have the athleticism of, say, a St. John's, but they play a similar style in terms of how they attack the basketball. Defensively, they really are disruptive. They're connected, and they don't give airspace. And that's something, if you're Baylor, you've got to make the adjustment. The ball movement's got to improve if you're Baylor right now. You're not just going to consistently beat this team by trying to go one-on-one.
So TCU is going to bring it the length of the floor. 10-point lead with a $1:20 gone by second half. A 15-4 TCU run going back to the first half. Yesufu the steal. A foot race, little Euro step in traffic, missed it. Yesufu gets it back, misses a little bunny again, and there's a stick back. It'll be a chance at 3 for Michael Ratai. Boy, a badly needed play for Baylor.
And again, the offensive rebound, a great job by Yesufu getting out in transition, but TCU with a terrific job of getting back for the contest, but they can't control that defensive backboard. 2 opportunities there for TCU, I should say for Baylor, and that one they're able to convert.
So Michael Ratai, young man born and raised in Germany, started his collegiate career at Oregon State. Last year, All-WCC first-team player. Was top 4 in that conference in scoring. Big-time scorer for Oregon State at nearly 17 per game. So a big addition for Scott Drew, who, by the way, put together a top 15 transfer class with this brand new roster, GA, that they put together.
Yeah, we don't. It's not all about the recruiting class anymore. It's the transfer class, and that's going to be an integral part of how you develop rosters moving forward.
For a nice little leaner, that is David Punch. His first point of the game.
But I like the fact that he's starting to impact defensively. You know, you talk about his offensive improvement there. To me, it's what he does defensively. The deflections, the steals, the ability to guard all over the floor. That's really what makes him a special talent.
Fisher's going to get a tripping foul here. Jamie Dixon irate as Edmonds is whistled for the contact. And that's going to be his third personal.
Laboring a little bit here. You see that leg right there. There was some contact. You don't like that if you're TCU, but you do understand the call. But that is a big play there, though, because Edmonds now laboring with a little bit of a leg injury and 3 fouls. So we'll have to see how Coach Dixon makes the adjustment, losing some of their athleticism on that front line.
So Edmonds hobbled to the bench. Yesufu, boy, they got a fingertip on him with Punch. As TCU again continues to extend its defense. Robinson into the corner. Layla Vitches bangs in a 3.
And again, I go back to Punch. Punch making an impact defensively that leads to the transition opportunity for that corner triple.
Third 3 For Litauis Leilevičius, the junior from Lithuania, another Oregon State transfer. Here's Carr off balance. We're showing you everything he's got in his bag as he's into double digits with 10.
And he's going to have to continue to find ways to score against this relentless defense.
Here comes Punch. Beautiful two-man pick-and-roll action set up by Harding. But this is what it's been in this game, GA. The TCU defense leading their offense.
It is. Here the contest. He gets a block shot there. And now you're, in essence, a live ball turnover. You're going to get cross matches. You get confusion defensively that leads to an open, uncontested triple for TCU.
So here's David Punch now at the free throw line. First of 2 free throws. Don't miss all new episodes of The Impractical Jokers, premiering January 15th, only on TBS. So David Punch out of Harker Heights, Texas, grew up about 2 hours south of where we are here in Fort Worth. Mention how good he's been so far. One of only 4 players in the country, averaging 14.7 rebounds and assists and 2 blocks. And it's just been sensational trying to get his offensive game ignited. Lauren.
Yeah, he leads TCU in points, rebounds, and blocks. Just one of the 6 players in the country averaging at least 14.7 boards, 2 blocks per game. Jamie Dixon told me his feel for the game stands out. His decision-making and passing are often overlooked. And he also said playing Punch almost exclusively at the 5 in practice last season really sharpened his instincts, helped his role evolve on both sides. And Punch told me, too, my main focus this season was becoming the player this team needs me to be. He said, I knew if I took that step as a leader, my game would follow. So the leadership skills, guys, are what he really focused on this offseason.
And Lauren, we mentioned the devastating loss. Their starting center Malik Diallo going down to that ACL injury early in their season opener. That precipitated moving Punch to the 5 spot. So he's had the transition, moving over, doing whatever his coach has asked him to do, and he's been just sensational so far this year.
And he's such a cerebral player, has such a great feel, but going to the 5, you're also seeing the ball in the game from a different angle. And because of his mind, I think it's allowed him to grow as a player. I mentioned Draymond Green earlier, but defensively he's like that. He can guard post players. He can step out and hedge on pick and rolls. He's really active with his hands in terms of deflections and blocks. And it really does set the tone when your best player is also your most committed player defensively.
So how does Baylor handle things now? They're down 12 points, 16 and change left second half, as they get one of their first real tests of the season. Yesufu dials it up from deep. Badly needed basket as that cuts it to 9.
We haven't
Yesufu's got 10 points.
We haven't seen a lot of open, uncontested shots from Baylor. And Punch now starting to get his feel. And I think it started because he committed to getting after it defensively. Shoulders were a little slumped in that first half, but he seems to have picked up his energy here in the second.
Well, he's another physical specimen, GA. He's got some thickness to him, and he's a young man who doesn't mind mixing it up underneath, as evidenced by that last sequence. So Punch now starting to put it together. He's given the Horned Frogs an 11-point lead. Shot clock at 7. Skilling's off balance. They got a piece. Najee had it ripped away. And TCU, they're just a half step faster than Baylor.
Sparrow, you hit it right on the head there. They're quicker. Their anticipation to get to the ball, Michael Robinson there doesn't knock down that triple, but Punch and Co. have really started to impose defensively. Young fella struggled offensively in the first half, but staying with it is TCU in control here by 11.
The other thing, GA, that the Horned Frogs have done is they've gotten to the free throw line in the second half. They did not have an attempted free throw at all in the first 20 minutes. So clearly a point of emphasis in that halftime locker room chat from Jamie Dixon. Is David Punch going to get a well-deserved breather here with the Horned Frogs holding this 11-point lead?
And TCU coming out, extending their defense, picking up full court again, just making Baylor think, giving them some different looks, forcing them to have to initiate their offense differently than maybe they were expecting to. Let's see what Punch on the floor, though, if Baylor can somehow get something going to the rim.
Always fun to watch Jamie Dixon coach his teams. Always hard-nosed, always defensive-oriented. How far can this TCU team go in the Big 12 as they begin their conference schedule? Big shot, Skillings.
And that's a huge shot because that was a possession that TCU had won defensively, but staying with it was Baylor to get that open three there in the corner. Big-time shot.
Tanner Toolson has come into the game for Jamie Dixon. He gave him some really good minutes off the bench in the first half. Also, Jace Posey reinserted. Toolson picks up the dribble, resets to Harding. Their point guard playmaker. Iowa transfer, pulls from the elbow was Toolson. Loose ball, Robinson knifes in. Najee to steal.
Najee just continues to find a way to have an impact here for Baylor.
Well, they didn't even have enough time to get Najee's last name on the back of his jersey. That's how quickly it's been for him as he makes his Baylor debut. Here comes Robinson. They're going to get a goaltend. Najee got it off the glass. And now TCU builds on its lead.
Yeah, but Harding, great job coming up with the steal. Get out in transition, and you can see the attack clearly off the glass there. But just a great job of TCU of attacking the basketball. Whenever you're driving in traffic against them, they are going to have multiple sets of hands trying to dislodge that basketball. That time they're successful and get a deuce in transition.
So the Baylor Bears 10-2 on the season. Good interior defense underneath. 18 seconds to shoot as Baylor's going to throw in underneath.
And the way that possession started with England trying to go all the way, nobody else is touching the ball. The spacing's not good. They've got to figure out a way to execute with the pass and not just the dribble. Is Carr able to come through there with a tough contested deuce to keep Baylor connected?
So Carr now has 10. Pierre sets up Edmonds underneath, and he's fouled on the catch. Fisher's going to get Najee. Baylor's 2 losses this season came at the Players Era tournament in Vegas. First one to number 14 St. John's, and then they lost on the road at unranked Memphis. In their non-conference, they played 7 NCAA tournament teams from last year. So they did get some tests early in the season. And now, how do they react with some early conference adversity here in their Big 12 opener on the road at TCU? Just cut the deficit to 8. Little leaner that time. Won't go. They put back. And look at Posey working hard. He's going to get himself to the free throw line.
And Sparrow, he's so explosive. I mean, he takes the shot, misses it, and he's the next one to get the basketball on the other side of the rim before anyone else had elevated to try and grab it. Just incredible quickness and anticipation there to get himself to the line.
So Jace Posey had a straight Jesuit, Houston, Texas native, sophomore. Mentioned that 21 points that he had against 10th-ranked Florida. A career-high performance for him in that November the 27th upset win over the defending champs. And his proud papa had that long, successful NBA career, 2-time NBA champ, as we mentioned, but obviously he wants nothing more to see his young son have some of that same success.
You know, I was just with James last week in Portland. They brought a bunch of us back from our 2000 team, and he's an assistant coach there now, and very proud of this young man. And tell you what, high character, great competitor. For every team would love to have someone like Jace Posey on their roster.
Here comes Najee working awfully hard, and he's going to get himself to the free throw line.
And I'll tell you what, he hasn't been on the court in a long time, but he is a difference maker for Baylor. He has had a huge impact on both sides. And folks, he's still not nearly comfortable in terms of his role and how he's going to impact the game.
Just wonder what his ceiling will be once he continues to get comfortable, more acclimated to what they do at both ends of the floor. First free throw short. Born and raised in Nigeria. And if you've just hopped on with us, he's a former NBA draft pick, was taken 31st overall by the Pistons in the 23 NBA draft. His rights are currently owned by the New York Knicks. He's never played in a preseason or regular season game. We heard some of the reaction from some of the high-profile coaches around the country as Posey nearly goes coast to coast. He's got 7.
And again, it's all off of his effort and activity, just running the floor there, beating everyone down the court to get that deuce.
Fast break points so far have been all TCU. Actually giving the Bears a taste of their own medicine. Baylor, one of the top fast breaking teams in the country, GA. There's punch underneath, missed it, good look, fight for it. Now G pulls. Officials going to say reaching.
No, you're right. Yeah, I think he was trying to pivot away from the defense and inadvertently stepped on the out of bounds line. And how about this attack here by Posey? Goes up through the shot blocker, able to just elevate and hang long enough to get the finish.
Scott Drew is going to get a timeout, try to get his young player to cool down a little bit. With tempers starting to flare, it is getting physical and it is getting hot here in Fort Worth. Baylor and TCU getting it on TNT.
Comfort level, his confidence and activity. So you can see there, most importantly, +7 when he's been on the floor. So clearly having a huge impact for the Bears.
4 years of EuroLeague basketball with FC Barcelona. And the competition out there, not too shabby. We know how good, high level it is there. But trying to quickly acclimate himself to this Baylor program as this one last touched by the Bears. And an underneath out of bounds for TCU.
And if you're Scott Drew, you need your guys to raise their energy. They are getting hammered on 50-50 balls, on loose balls. And you called it earlier, they're about a quarter to a half step behind what TCU is bringing in terms of their energy.
Edmonds has been a catalyst, but he throws it away. Skillings Jr., a foot race. Crowd wanted to travel. And there's the turnover. A sloppy sequence for the Bears.
But that possession shows you the defense, they're speeding. Baylor wants to play fast, but no one plays well when they're sped up. And by that I mean they're trying to play faster. Like, watch this play here. They wanted to travel here. I thought that was a good no call. But then when they kick the ball over, again, they're trying to attack before the defense is set. And it's just making Baylor a little disjointed in terms of their offense.
This is punch, averaging better than 14 per game. A little bit of body contact. Basket will not count. Whistle coming before the shot. And that is going to put Baylor over the limit and TCU in a 1-and-1 in the bonus. Right now, all he's thinking about is trying to find some answers against this TCU defense.
Yeah, his guys have got to raise their level in terms of the competitiveness. That's what it is. Right now, TCU just more competitive. They want it a little bit more. Baylor's going to have to level up here if they want to come back.
Here comes Cameron Carr. He's been a spark plug for this team. First couple of months of the season, looked like Punch got a hand on that shot. Skillings Jr. too much. And the rebound pulled by Leilovicic.
Yeah, but too many possessions for Baylor when only one person touches the ball. And that plays into the hands of a good defensive team.
Three-pointer from Harding won't go. So a 10-point Baylor deficit as we come up on 11 minutes left in the second half. Skillings Jr. somehow maintains his pivot foot. Reset Powell, reset Carr. 10 on the timer. Powell, beautiful backdoor cut, Ratai.
And that was a great job by Powell on the cut, and then the recognition for Ratai on that baseline cut.
So Michael Ratai, the German national Oregon State transfer, he's got 5. Pierre trying to go glass. So despite Baylor's struggles, GA, here they are, possession, they're down 8. Skillings Jr. is bumped. into the paint. So Baylor showing a little bit of a heartbeat now as we approach the midway point of this second half.
Yeah, a ton of time. And here, look, good spacing. That's the key. Once you get that ball with 2 feet in the paint, now you're able to dictate the possession. And just a great read there by Ratai on the cut and Powell on the find.
So the officials determined that it was a shooting foul charged to Micah Robinson. So they put Dan Skillings Jr. at the free throw line. Senior Cincinnati transfer who came in red hot. Last 4 games for Skillings, nearly 15 points, almost 5 assists per game. First year in the program after the last 3 as a Bearcat. And he's got a chance now to cut this thing down to 6.
And one thing I will say for Scott Drew and his crew, like I guarantee the coaching staff's not upset because they want to see their guys challenged. They want to see how they respond to the adversity. And guarantee you, he's coaching them up, letting them know, hey, this is a 3-possession game, guys. Let's just figure out a way to grind out a win.
There's no doubt it's an early season stress test for Scott Drew's Bears. Big 12 opener for both teams. Rivalry in state between these two schools that know each other so well. TCU has led by as many as 12. This is Pierre, and he knocks in a 3.
That was a big-time shot by Pierre. Just when it seemed like TCU was struggling to create good looks, able to get that much-needed triple there to extend the lead.
8 for Pierre. First points for the Horned Frogs in nearly 3 minutes. And Skillings is fouled again.
And this three-pointer, you can see Skillings got caught there in the rib, but because the hedge isn't strong, watch how they don't really hedge enough to disrupt his rhythm, and he's able to just step into that shot uncontested there for a big-time 3.
Jace Posey is going to come in. David Punch will sit. One thing about Jamie Dixon, he runs these players in and out, trying to test the Baylor team that, you know, for stretches before the acquisition of Najee, playing only 7 deep. Skillings, but continues to give his Bears a boost. He's got 11.
And that was a huge one off of a deflection. He was just the first man to it. And Harding able to draw a foul and get himself to the free throw line.
So bonus for the Frogs, 1-1.
And you see Harding here comes up with a deflection. And that's just a matter of Skilling just being in the right place at the right time. Catches it in rhythm for the Deuce.
So here's Harding, 67% free throw shooter. Missed everything.
And that's going to be about 66 now for him after that one. That was, had a little hitch in his giddy up on that release there. Just kind of short-armed it.
I thought I felt a little bit of a draft. So 9 and change left, second half. I don't think the clock started when it should have. So the officials are going to get things reset. Jamie Dixon having a little conversation with Kip Kissinger here just in front of us. And Ratai the inbounder. This is Ratai. On the wing, Yesufu, who's been quiet. Yesufu, number 7 scorer in the conference, strips cleanly. Beautiful defense from Pierre.
They have 5 guys who are always aware of where the basketball is. About that block shot there by Powell.
Caden Powell getting himself some. Beautiful recovery. This is Ratai as we hit the 9-minute mark left. Ratai working hard, skips it. Yesufu, contested 3, short. But how about Jaden Pierre's defense the last couple of sequences?
Yeah, he's been terrific.
Edmonds.
And we talked about it. TCU not known for their 3-point shooting. But today they have been on point. 8 made threes, folks. They only average just under 8 on the season.
Here comes Ratai. Turn back. Boy, that TCU defense has been electric. Harding going glass, unable to finish. And again, they just keep beating Baylor to those 50-50 balls.
It's not rocket science, girl. Ultimately, the team that gets the ball the most more often than not is going to win. And TCU has done a great job of that here thus far.
Posey steps into a three. Look at Harding. But when the little guy gets offensive rebounds like this, you know you're in trouble. As Jamie Dixon's going to get a timeout. And the Horned Frogs getting a well-deserved ovation off the floor.
They have been on point on both sides of the ball. And how about Evans, who's brought a lot of energy and the ability to stretch it. Yesufu, the terrific freshman from Baylor, boy, has he had his business handed to him today. They have done a terrific job of just making him play in a crowd, not letting him get comfortable. Nothing has come easy for the young man here today, and credit TCU's defense because they've also turned that terrific beat into opportunistic offense here. Transition triple by Evans to get that lead back up to 10 points, and it has been impressive what Jamie Dixon and crew have been able to do to disrupt the rhythm of that young man. Definitely a learning experience for him here on the road.
And again, GA, all that having been said, this is a 10-point game with 7 and change left. How does Baylor respond? Basket will not count. Contact coming before the attempt. Foul charge to Najee, his third.
And you're right, it is a 10-point game, but it feels like more because of the way the game's being played, right? TCU is going to make you have to guard the entire shot clock unless they get something easy in a run out. And they're going to force you to have to play against 5 sets of eyes defensively. And that has created a lot of problems for Baylor here today.
So there's Najee again, the whirlwind week and a half. You don't want to crush the equipment manager, but they have not had enough time to get the name on the back of his jersey. Something tells me that that'll be handled before they take the floor again. But overall, you've been impressed.
Oh, very,
so
very
with
much
what you've
so.
seen.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is he's exactly what they needed. You know, they lack the depth to begin with, particularly on that front line. He gives them some rim protection. He's one of those guys that he puts pressure on the rim on both sides of the ball. Like, you have to account for him. And he has definitely made his presence felt and will only get better as the season progresses.
So far, Najee has played 13 minutes. Scott Drew did not have a specific number, said maybe top out at 16, 17 minutes. So we'll see how long he sticks with Najee. As this is going to be a 2-shot foul now. Double bonus for TCU. So that also looms large now, Greg, over the last 7:15.
Yeah, they just, TCU has done such a good job of not allowing Baylor to get into an offensive flow, forcing them to initiate their offense 30, 34 feet from the basket. And it is so hard to generate quality looks when you can't consistently break down the defensive matchups one-on-one.
Cheer on your favorite Big 12 teams with officially licensed fan gear. For the best selection of team apparel and accessories, head to shopncaasports.com. We've mentioned Baylor, how good they've been offensively. Number 5 scoring team in the country. KenPom has them ranked 7th in Division I in offensive efficiency, GA. They have scored 100-plus 4 times, including each of their last 3, but this clearly has been a wake-up call with a raised level of play and competition as they open their Big 12 season.
And listen, the KenPom stats, the stats are what they are, but you have to factor in the competition. And when you start looking at just the elite teams that they play, those numbers do come down, as they should. But Baylor doesn't mean they aren't. They're still a really good offensive team, but they've got to figure out a way to get comfortable playing against the level of physicality they're going to see in Big 12 play.
Najee just getting his second field goal of the game, his first of the second half. Poked away, another takeaway for the Horned Frogs. Boy, Harding turned back and then the putback. Micah Robinson.
They are just clicking on all cylinders defensively. Have taken a lot of the confidence away of Baylor in terms of what they'd like to do offensively.
14-point TCU lead as we hit the 6-minute mark. Here comes Carr into the corner with Ty. 3 to shoot. Agbin. Boy, bailout call there. Tough with the shot clock down to 2 seconds. And one of the few mistakes that Brock Harding has made today. That'll be the 6th against TCU, so that's their last foul to give. There's another look at Najee's last field goal.
Yeah, Najee continues to have a positive impact. But here, off the turnover. And again, they don't give up on a play. They don't assume he's going to make that. You see the next 2 guys down the floor are TCU players as they come up with that offensive rebound.
Well, how much do the Bears have left in the tank? Can they make one push here down the stretch? And who do they turn to for offense? Carr. Deep 3, no. Rebound, Posey. TCU has won the rebounding margin 37-31 till this point. And not too many second chance opportunities for Baylor. Punch, Najee pokes it away. And 12 seconds to shoot.
I just cannot rave enough about how impressive TCU's intensity level has been, how sustained it's been throughout the course of this game. They are a relentless group.
Here's Punch, set up, Leaner, missed it. Which is crazy to think this TCU team that was picked to finish 10th in the Big 12 preseason poll. Well, the importance of this year for Jamie Dixon in this program. Remember their run to the NCAA tournament ended last year. They had gone 3 straight trips to the dance. But last year was a struggle for them. Finished 500, 16-16, sub 500 in conference play. There were 9-11 in the Big 12.
I'll tell you what, they win 9 or 10 games this year, they'll get the tournament. That's just how good the Big 12 is.
Especially, GA, when you consider some of their wins non-conference early. We mentioned the win over Florida, and even how well that they played Michigan, nearly beating the Wolverines. They lost that game by only 4.
Yeah, their 3 losses by a combined 10 points. That's impressive in and of itself, and it does speak to the consistency. And what Coach Dixon said before is we should have won all 3. We should have won all 3, and he's got his guys believing that they are as good as anybody in America. Boy, I tell you, based on what we've seen, he's got an argument.
Bleacher Report is your one-stop destination for all things college hoops. Get live scores, breaking news, and highlights from all of today's games. Just download the BR app today. Great to have you with us. Schollmeyer Arena. Happy New Year from Fort Worth, Texas. Spiro Vitas, Greg Anthony, Lauren Jabara. Our producer, Tom Heiss, our director, Jonathan Bywaters, rest of our fantastic TNT crew. As we celebrate the new year with this Big 12 conference opener for both Baylor and TCU. 12-point game as we cross the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, if you're Baylor, Spiro, can you create some bad shots, force a few turnovers, and get out in transition?
Edmonds turned back. They're going to get Najee. Good defensive activity. Yesufu was clamping down to help. Scott Drew can't believe the call.
That's a tough call there. Great job. I love how he's able to keep leverage so that he can get the contest here. That's a tough one there. That is a tough call that goes against Baylor.
4th against Najee. So 4:43 left. I guess if you're Scott Drew, you just let them, or now he's going to bring in Caden Powell. So Najee, GA, has played 16 minutes, right around where Drew expected him to maybe finish out, so we'll see if he comes back with him at some point.
No question he'll come back. If the situation warrants it. In talking to him, 16, they felt like if it went really well, that might be his ceiling, but it's probably gone better than expected. And his toughness on the front line, they need.
One of the things Scott Drew said, it's always close when we play TCU, and you don't get many end-of-game close games with Powell. They're going to give him the basket. So a chance at 3 and a massive play from Caden Powell, the senior.
That's a big-time finish through the contact. Home crowd didn't like it, but a nice job on this roll. And what they're saying is he didn't have an opportunity to gather and go up. That is another one of those bang-bang calls. It's a tough one, definitely outside the restricted area, but the officials didn't feel like he'd established position.
But just to finish that thought, Scott Drew said, look, we know it's going to be tight. Whatever happens in this game, this is going to be a building block opportunity for us on the road against a conference opponent that we know so well. Scott Drew's going to find out a lot about his team here down the stretch. 4 and change remaining, 10-point game. Boy, beautiful shot. Harding goes glass.
Yeah, he has just had a terrific all-around game here for TCU.
So he hit the 4-minute mark with the Frogs lead back to a dozen. 3-pointer won't go that time from Agben. Offensive rebound, Powell. Agben's going to pull again, and he knocks it in.
Yeah, he can shoot the 3-ball, and they're going to need some of those. Now, though, it's a 9-point game. Still a ton of time. It's going to come down. Can Baylor string together stops?
Agben 5th in the conference in 3-point percentage, better than 43% as he gets his first points. There's a takeaway. Carr had it poked away by Toulson. So here we go. The Bears now showing a heartbeat again as they have cut it to single digits. Obi Agben, where they've been waiting for him to finally knock one down. It could not have come at a better time. And boy, when you consider how deadly the Big 12 Conference is, Carr working hard. A chance at 3, and here comes Baylor. It's a 7-point game.
And that was just a big-time play by Mr. Carr. It just was not to be denied there on the attack through the contact. Just wrestling down low, able to get his legs up under him, takes the hit, and able to finish through that contact.
Comes in off his career-high 28-point performance against Arlington Baptist on Monday. Hasn't nearly had the same game, but he's been really good here, GA. Second half, 15 for Carr, as he has cut this to a 6-point game.
Yeah, 2-possession game. And one thing you're looking for with competitors, can you just focus on time and score? Doesn't matter what happened the first 37 minutes. What do we need to do now down the stretch? You've got to have a short memory.
6 straight for Baylor. It's an 11-3 extended run. 5 to shoot. Robinson has to work quickly. It's a blocking foul. It's on Powell. He can't believe it. Double bonus continues, so 2 free throws coming up here for Micah Robinson.
And now these free throws become huge, because you talked about it. It gets a lot harder now when it's more of a struggle for you, TCU, offensively, and with Baylor starting to get a little more rhythm offensively.
What's Scott Drew looking at, you think, on that little sheet? Is it offensive play calls?
Yeah, he's trying to get a sense of where he can go, to what he can run to get his 2 guys an opportunity, because they are being matched up against smaller defenders. And so you saw him that out of bounds. They were able to get caught on a smaller guard at the rim. But how about that? Runs down his own miss and resets the shot clock.
Big play by Robinson to get his Frogs an extra possession. Averages nearly 5 rebounds a night. So we're inside of the 3-minute mark. Intensity picks up Harding. A touch. Powell turns him back. 3.3 to shoot underneath out of bounds for TCU.
And Yesufu did a great job at the point of attack, which allows the help defender to come over. and get that rejection. And now a little over 3 on the shot clock. Can they get a good look here?
Robinson, quick release play, had a chance to shake. Punch. It's a shot clock violation. Punch did not get it off in time. And the basketball belongs to the Bears.
And Jamie Dixon wondering if that touched the rim. I didn't think it did. It was the right call there by the official.
Or you can feel the tension in this place after TCU had it handled for much of the half. Here come the Bears. Carr starting to wreak havoc. It'll be 2 free throws. Double bonus now for both teams. And Cameron Carr starting to put the Bears on his back.
And this game eerily reminiscent of the Michigan game. It was
right.
a game where TCU controlled it for most of it, but down the stretch, Michigan was able to make the plays on both sides of the ball. And right now, Baylor starting to come up with the goods defensively and getting their best offensive players into a rhythm.
And again, as Scott Drew said, you find out so much about your team in a stage like this, in an environment like this. Big 12 opener, on the road, rivalry games, in-state. You got so many new faces, basically a brand new team for Scott Drew and Baylor. And what a moment as they face one of their biggest tests of the season. Cameron Carr, number 13 scorer in the country. Conley drills 2. And we got a 4-point game.
And now offensively, if you're TCU, this is where you need punch to get going. You've got to get him in some pick and roll action, get the ball in his hands, and allow him to dictate on the possession.
8 straight points in the last 90 seconds for Baylor. Layla Vicious misses from deep. This was a 61-47 TCU lead with 6:20 left in the half. 14-3 run since. Skillings turned back. And Harding off the save by Punch.
Yeah, not a great possession offensively from Baylor. Kind of bailed TCU out there. But again, I go back to it. They had Punch on that last double drag they ran. He was open, but they went to the corner for the triple.
Harding trying to run that clock. Both teams in a double bonus. Robinson reset. Harding 5 to shoot. Harding probing. Reaches around. Traveling violation. But Harding has been so short-handed. A mistake here.
It is, but from TCU's perspective, it's a dead ball turnover. So it does allow you a chance, an easy call there. You saw that pivot come up off the ground. That's what the officials were calling. But it does at least allow you to set your defense here. 2-possession game.
3rd TCU turnover forced by Baylor in the last 3 minutes. Here's Yesufu trying to reignite Carr. Carr is going to reset against Posey. Elevates, misses badly. So we cross the 1-minute mark. 2-possession lead for TCU. 52 seconds.
And they'll use this entire shot clock because, again, because it's a 2-possession game and you have the double bonus, it's going to make it a lot more difficult to defend this without foul.
10 seconds to shoot into the corner. Posey. Punch. He's their leading scorer. Goes to work. Extends. No whistle. And he goes last. 6-point lead for the Frogs. First points for TCU in almost 4 minutes.
We talked about it. He's their best player. And boy, does he come up with the goods here. Powell trying to draw the foul. No call, but the deuce for TCU.
Viewed as the most indispensable piece on this TCU team.
And one thing I wanted to point out, too, even on that Carr miss, that shot was taken because of what happened the possession before, where I think it was Skillings that went on a tough drive, didn't really have anything, and forced a difficult shot that was blocked. So when you make those kinds of plays, it takes some of the trust away. And now guys start thinking maybe they're not going to get it back. And maybe an ill-advised shot, but he's also been a guy that's proven all season long that he can make tough shots.
Or maybe another area of growth for Scott Drew and the Bears. Final 21 seconds. Carr gets it to Agben. He's their best three-point shooter, and he's fouled for the last thing that Jamie Dixon wanted there. They're going to get Agben on the three-point shot. So Posey is the man who's whistled. 3 free throws, and boy, that completely changes the dynamic here. They can cut it to a one-possession game with 18.3 left.
Wow, not a lot of contact there.
Agben rims in the first.
Big play, though. They're able to score here. Again, they got to try to come up with a turnover. TCU's in the double bonus, or identify the player you want to foul to send to the free throw line.
Agben playing for his 5th different school. First year at Baylor. Another look at that shot. Not a lot of contact, if there was any, GA from Posey.
Well, that's what guys do though today. They're going to sell it. They're going to embellish the contact, and you can't fault them for it. Puts a lot of pressure on the officials there, but they were able to come up with the goods.
So Agben, an excellent free throw shooter, nearly 90%. 3-point TCU lead, and all the pressure now squarely back on the Frogs. Layla Bitches gets it reset. Robinson and Yesufu is going to come over to get the contact. 14.2. As the Bears trying to extend this thing as much as they can.
Robinson, a 75% free throw shooter. And right now, you need at least one to make it a 2-possession game.
Micah Robinson, sophomore out of Kansas City. Jamie Dixon talking about how many strides he took over the summer. A young man who just lived in the gym, working on his game. Highest recruit in TCU's top 20 class last year. He was a consensus top 100 prospect out of Oak Hill Academy in Virginia. And he's hit on both. Taking care of business with 14 seconds left.
And it should allow for TCU now. They're going to extend their pressure just so that Baylor can't get the ball up the court quickly. Make them use as much clock as you can.
Here comes Agben. And Scott Drew's going to get a timeout. 10.7. Well, this thing has been every ounce of intense as we expected it to be. 5-point lead.
I said earlier, you win 9-10 games in league, you're going to be in the tournament. That's just how good this conference is.
Every one of their remaining games will be in the Big 12 as Agben misses. Punch clears. As Agben bumps Harding, and that is going to do it here in Fort Worth, Texas.
And there wasn't a lot, even with the make there, but you want to get an opportunity to get some of these end-of-game situations. If you're Scott Drew, Widman gets a decent look, just unable to convert, punch, grabs that rebound, and boy, what an impressive performance by TCU. And a great game. Baylor, you know, even though they had their struggles tonight, they continued to fight in this game and really had a chance here down the stretch.
Well, meantime, notable games coming up for Scott Drew and Baylor. 18 of their final 19 will be in conference. Their only non-conference left, February the 14th against Louisville.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to earn themselves a bid if they don't win the Big 12 or the tournament, because that schedule will provide, makes you wonder or understand why maybe they played a few of those cupcake games knowing what the schedule was going to be like the latter stages.
Carr inbounds. This will be a Baylor turnover as we are down to 5.3 seconds left. So Baylor's going to fall to 10-3 on the season, 0-1 in conference. And TCU, meantime, will get to 11-3 as they will win their first conference game. TCU, but they felt like they owed Baylor in this head-to-head rivalry. They get it at home.